But before we get into all that kind of stuff, let's go right off the top with this. Lionsgate, we've been talking about this lately. They've been struggling a bit. They've had a number of films come out, haven't quite done what they were hoping those movies would do, and they've struggled a touch. Of course, two of their biggest franchises ever. Number one is Twilight. That thing, hey, joke all about the Twilight you want to. That thing was a monster at the box office. The other one was Hunger Games. 4 films, nearly $3 billion at the box office over those 4 films. So it's not surprising that it looks like Lionsgate is going back to Pen M, however you pronounce the name of the country.
That's right.
As it's been announced that Suzanne Collins, the writer of The Hunger Games, she is now penning a prequel story to The Hunger Games that apparently takes place about 65-ish years before the events of Hunger Games during the 10th Hunger Games battle, and really looking, as she calls it, looking at the formation of society at that time and how it all kind of comes together. Not surprisingly, of course, we have Lionsgate anxious to jump on board with her and is already in negotiations for the movie contracts to that. They said they've been talking with her and negotiating with her and working it all out during her whole writing process. That book comes out in 2020. No word at this point really quite yet as to when they would go into production on a movie like this. Rob, I look at something like this and I'm kind of two minds. On the one hand, I'm like, of course you're going back to Hunger Games. I mean, what else are you going to do, right? It's like, do we really need another one, blah, blah, blah. But I will say this, on the other side of my mind, it's like, okay, you've got the original author who's doing the book herself. When I read her description of it, about kind of looking at the nature of humanity and what would we do, what do we consider necessary for our survival? And the formation of the Hunger Games very early in its infancy, I will admit that while on the one hand, I'm like, really? Another Hunger Games movie? I gotta admit, the other half of my mind is, this sounds like it could actually be pretty interesting. To me, it seems like a no-brainer if you're Lionsgate. Of course, if she's going to write another Hunger Games book, these movies made huge bank for you. You've been struggling a little bit. Clearly, for Lionsgate, it seems like a no-brainer. You go back and do it. Rob, you're hearing about all this. What do you make of it?
Well, it makes a lot of money. The Hunger Games, I read all 3 books. I read Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay. I liked that world. I liked the world she set up. And I think that what's interesting is our world today certainly seems to be pointed in a direction where we're going to wind up with the Hunger Games in our future. Yeah. And I think I love reading dystopian science fiction novels, especially those that deal with the collapse of civilization and where we're at. There's a number of things that are happening now that she can certainly make use of. I mean, whether it's global warming, whether it's our political situation, whether it's what's going on in the political situations around the world, it's not hard to see where we're going. And I think right now you've got things like The Man in the High Castle, you've got The Handmaid's Tale that deal with these dystopian visions of where America went or could have gone. And I think that The Hunger Games was absolutely one of those, and I would love to see how it all came together. I'm in. I mean, I love those books, and maybe not so much Mockingjay, but I really liked her writing. I like the world. I'd love to know more about it. And of course, because why shouldn't Lionsgate jump on board? Why make a new franchise when you can make money off an old one or not?
Well, they've been trying to do some new ones, not having the greatest of luck, but this does seem like a no-brainer to me. And by the way, if your guys aren't watching Handmaid's Tale, it's believe all the hype. I mean, it's a really great show. You should check this thing out.
And how about how they've turned Canada into the Great White North where everybody needs to go?
No. They are accurately portraying the Great White North as the great haven of humanity. Let's just be clear about it. Anyway, what do you guys think about this whole Hunger Games news? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, let's go on to item number 2.